thank you for being here. I know that we have those that are remote who are also watching, and so this is a very exciting day for us because this is our second BitAngels Pitch Fest. We did our first one in Washington, D.C., and this second one is here in Maryland. So we were probably going to be alternating between Maryland and D.C. just because of the nature of the communities. But today we are here at the Blockchain Bootcamp. And for those that are also watching virtually or who are in the audience, we have a guest here who I've met a number of years ago, Michael Terpin. And he is brilliant. I cannot share with you the knowledge that I've heard him speak about both in Vegas as well as in other locations. I can't even summarize the information that he knows, but he's going to actually explain to us more about the Bitcoin supercycle. But he understands Bitcoin, he understands money markets, he understands technology, and he understands business planning, which is one of the reasons why right after his speech, his presentation, we're going to be doing the Startup Pitch Fest. We have 5 to 6 businesses that are here all across various topics. And these individuals who are pitching are both new startups as well as that have raised money for their projects and are looking for additional funding. But what's really interesting to me is the diversity of the projects that we are sharing. You're going to see them in a lot of different niches. So without further ado, Michael, I'm going to have you come up to share today for those that are here as well as that are watching remotely. And we have students from Uganda and Nigeria who are joining us, so welcome. Thank you.
Is this a standing mic, or can I walk around with it? Okay, great. And then I have a clicker? This one here? Okay. Okay, I'll give it a try. At any rate, hi, I'm Michael Terpin. My book, Bitcoin Supercycle, and we'll be talking about sort of the concepts of, and it's available, Simon & Schuster distributes it, and available on Amazon. Also, if you want to hear it, bitcoinsupercycle.ai has got my avatar talking about it. You can ask it questions too, and it's got the audiobook in 9 languages. So my background is I've been serial entrepreneur for about 30 years in technology and marketing. Started out with a PR firm during the consumer internet days before they called them .coms. Launched the Motley Fool, America Online Greenhouse, Earthlink, Playboy New Media, a bunch of sort of iconic names in the 90s. And then I started a company that was the first internet-based press release distribution service called InternetWire, because I looked at the internet as being something that could disrupt an industry. And you know, it was PR Newswire and BusinessWire were the incumbents, and PR Newswire actually started out using telegrams. And I don't mean the online website telegram. We're talking about Morse code. And then BusinessWire advanced to using satellite, and then they both started using fax. And I thought, you know, the internet's a lot more efficient than this. And so that company grew, InternetWire. Got funded by Sequoia Cap. First, I got bootstrapped it because we're going to be talking later today about you know, sort of funding rounds and things like that. I started BitAngels the same conference that I went to for my first Bitcoin conference. I heard about Bitcoin in early 2012, and then was supposed to go to a conference, and I ended up like sending someone else who said, they're smoking crack. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And so I didn't think more about it until I went on my own in 2013 to the first sort of, you know, substantial Bitcoin conference of 1,000 people called the Bitcoin Foundation, and totally fell down the rabbit hole, and I saw this was going to change the world. It was $120 back then. Of course, that first conference, it was $4. So I wish I had gone to that conference because I probably would have fallen down the same rabbit hole, you know, 30x and 1 year earlier. So, but I'm here to talk about sort of the mothership. I founded BitAngels at that conference with David Johnston, and we're now in 40 cities. I think Jackie's chapter, is number 35 or something. We recently opened up Manila. We're also in Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore, New York has been for a long time, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, on and on. So bitangels.network if you want to go to sort of the overall site. And then today I'm just going to talk about Bitcoin, though, because I think that, people who are in sort of blockchain generically, private blockchain, I see the Blockchain Legal Institute is a big sponsor here, as well as sort of altcoins, meme coins, degens, sort of, have to go back to the roots and talk about, what is really the initial thesis that changed the world and where is it going, because we're in a bear market, and so everybody's like, Bitcoin's dead, forget about that, Bitcoin's dead, what are you talking about? AI is going to kill Bitcoin, let's see, what was it 4 years ago? What was it 4 years before that? At any rate, so what hasn't changed is that Bitcoin is still the best performing asset class the last 15 years, and it's not even close. And my thesis is going to continue, and the bear market happens religiously every 4 years, and I'll show that in charts and graphs. Okay, are we going here? Plus up, plus down. There we go, it's down. Okay, there we go, okay. Oh yeah, my disclaimer, that's, you can read fast, it just basically says like, this is not investment advice, I do have a fund, and do your own research on everything. Okay. Is it clicking? Where do I point it to just to make sure that this is probably not the screen. There we go. Okay, so why should you care? Again, best performing asset class in history. Some of the stats there. I mean, 100x since this month 10 years ago. Just think about that. If you bought Bitcoin, and most people had heard about it in 2016, it had already gone through its rise up to $1,000 in 2013 and went all the way back down. And, you could have bought it, I just looked it up this morning, it was $660 on July 16th, 10 years ago to the day. Obviously, if you bought it in 2011, you could have bought it for like $6 or less. It's when the first person who received Bitcoin, Hal Finney, looked at the Bitcoin white paper, he said, this is very interesting. It's either going to 0 or to $10 million. And I don't think we're going to 0. And I do think we're going to $10 million. It might take 50 years, but I think that that's the asset has been established, and we'll get to a little reason why. So we still are really in our infancy compared to gold. I mean, we're now, as of today, at $1.29 trillion. Gold is at $28 trillion. I think it's inevitable that we'll be a $1 million Bitcoin within the next 10 years. That's 3 more bull market bubbles from now. And that's 21 trillion. We're at 1.29 today. Gold will continue to grow, but it's not going to grow at the same rate, and I've got a chart for that. And if you look at ETFs, I remember when they launched the ETF a little over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, they were wondering if it could get to $10 billion its first year. It got up to about $120 billion. It's now pared back to about $80 billion, but it's still a fraction of what's in gold for stock market investors. So when people tell you that, oh, it's over for Bitcoin, institutions control it all, there's $1.3 trillion of Bitcoin. Only 80 billion of that is in ETFs. That's not even, what, 2/3 of 1%? So institutions do not control Bitcoin. Okay, why I should care. Okay, we got all this here. Picture's worth 1,000 words. This in the purple is Bitcoin, and that's only since 2019, okay? If I go back further, it's even flatter on the line. And those little tiny blips you can barely see, yeah, it's the S&P in gold. Even the big run-up in gold, you can see how long it was flat. Okay. I like to say that Bitcoin's a freedom asset, and it is. I mean, obviously banks, they track everything you do. They they freeze your money if they mismanage it, right? They've said already that if there's a next financial crisis, it won't be a bailout, it's going to be a bail-in. They just take your money. They have that right now. They pay almost zero interest, and they're only accessible during banking hours. Oops, this is not playing fair here. Okay. Open 365, blah, blah, blah for Bitcoin. And obviously, anybody in the world can use Bitcoin, and you have the freedom to transact anywhere between two willing parties. Now, again, you know, for a while there was this stuff like, oh my God, what about terrorists? What about OFAC? All this stuff. You know, it's funny. Money laundering wasn't even a term until the 90s. I mean, it used to be the crime that was the crime, not spending the money from the crime. So, for the most part, you know, even when Elizabeth Warren, the one who was trying to shut down Bitcoin and everything, and we had, you know, the hearings on it, she get the NSA up to say, tell us about all the money laundering and all the terrorist funding in Bitcoin. It's like, well, you know, there's much more in the banks. The highly regulated banks still end up like, you know, doing more money laundering than Bitcoin. So that's not really a concern. And trust me, they're tracking the little bit that happens. How do we get here? You know, cryptography started it out, Caesarian ciphers, sweetest spots. Okay. Don't have time to really go through the whole history. I have a whole chapter on the cypherpunks in my book. Okay. For those who are confused about what blockchain is, what Bitcoin is, and what crypto is, I mean, blockchain was created by Satoshi. I mean, there were other things that came earlier, other experiments, RSA, public key, private key cryptography. But overall, the first one to use the term blockchain and to describe what we have today was Satoshi. So all blockchains as they operate today come from Bitcoin. Private ones, you know, Hyperledger, things like that, were very popular with corporations. I saw that and still see this as a passing fad because anybody remember the intranet? Because you can't trust the internet. So we're going to go and make sure that we go and have a private internet until corporations, I mean, Walmart had one for a long time, realized that it's kind of expensive to like keep your own internet going and keep up with all the new developments that an open source community puts in. And so that's usually what we have now for corporations. They put a stack on top of the Ethereum largely, and develop, you know, ZK Snarks and some other privacy controls, but they don't try to do their own blockchain. Bitcoin, again, was the first one. It's the mothership. It's the granddaddy. It's the only one that's had any country say, we're going to use this as cash, and that's El Salvador. There's a few others that have been considering it. And it's also the one that's really, I mean, Ethereum still, you know, has a lot of control from Vitalik and people who vote for the foundation, whereas in Bitcoin, even though there's no longer a foundation, that kind of dissolved. It's now just sort of the miners and the developers, and they have to kind of both agree on something for it to get done. So it takes forever. It took almost 2 years to agree on the block size change. So that's a good thing if you're trying to, you know, keep something stable and be a standard. And then crypto's anything, right? Crypto is anything that is a cryptocurrency, typically a public cryptocurrency. And just because you can mint it doesn't mean it has any value. When to invest in Bitcoin? I don't know why I'm getting... This looks correct on my laptop, so I'm not sure what the disconnect is on the screen side. If I have a bad screen, I'm going to just sort of like go through it. Well, in general, my thesis is buy low, sell high. And the thing is that there has been enough volatility. Satoshi, in his early writings, said, as long as the amount of new money coming into Bitcoin every 4 years between the halvings exceeds the inflation of the halving, the new coins, it was first 50%, 25%, 10%, it's down to like 0.8% annual inflation now. That's nothing. And when people say, oh, I've had people on panels say, oh, well, it's meaningless now. There's no 4-year cycle because it's only 0.8%. It's like, no, it's meaningful because you don't compare that to the last rate or the next rate. You compare it to the economy of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin new users are growing 20%, 30%, 40%, and you know, you're only growing the number of coins 0.8%, that means that you're going to have a supply shock at some point. And that's when you get the bull markets. And so the one thing that I discovered as a thesis around 2015 when I'd watched, you know, the second cycle kind of come close to completion was that Satoshi was right. As long as there's new money coming in, the price is going to always go up. And at the halving, that's been true. First price of Bitcoin in the first cycle was 1/10 of a cent. First price at the first halving, starting the second cycle, was $12. Third cycle, $670. Fourth cycle, $8,700. This most recent cycle, the fifth cycle, $63,900. And the next one will be higher than $63,900. I can pretty much guarantee that. So all the wild volatility scares people away. Oh my God, it just dropped 60%. It went up 100x. That's fear and greed. And so I came up with a thesis. I'm going to go to the next slide that actually is readable. There we go, the 4 C's of Bitcoin. Hopefully this one works. It's all fear and greed and the times in between. And I've noted now 4 cycles in a row where within each 4-year cycle, which by the way, they're not actually 4 years. They're actually 210,000 blocks. Most of those have been 47 months. And in 2016, it was only 43 months because of mining disruption. It's based on the number of blocks. And if they all happen to be 10 minutes, which is what they're programmed to be, but mining disruptions will make them longer or shorter, and that's where the difficulty comes in. I have a whole chapter on mining and mining economics and how it, makes Bitcoin so that it's going to take 140 years to go and distribute all the Bitcoin to miners. Basically, if it was a 4-year cycle, every halving would be on January 3rd, the day of the Genesis block, and it's not. But within the roughly 4-year cycles, you have 4 components, and I named them after the 4 seasons of nature. Bitcoin spring, that's when the seed of the new cycle is planted. Bitcoin summer, that's when the price goes up like a rocket ship. So you're now growing and getting to, where it's time to pluck. Bitcoin fall is when prices fall. And Bitcoin winter is the long road back to the top. If you remember nothing else from this presentation but that, you're ahead of the game. Because most people, retail in particular, first generation retail, they tend to buy in right at the top of Bitcoin summer because all their friends are making money, and then they are panicked by the prices going down, and they panic sell, and they do the opposite of what an investor is supposed to do. They buy high and sell low, and then 4 years later, they do it again. Oh, Bitcoin's back, I better buy in. And there's a lot of, this works the same way in the stock market and other markets. There's some obviously famous quotes. I've used several of them in my book. Lord Rothschild, wealthiest family in the world for the last few hundred years, created the whole central banking system and large private banks, said that you must wait until there's blood in the streets and then you must buy, even if it's your own blood in the streets. And, there's been a lot of other people saying similar things, and it definitely works. So Bitcoin spring, you want to be accumulating. It's the early bull run. It's presidential years, and I don't think that that's an accident. I think Satoshi planned it that way because of other economic cycles. Bitcoin, interesting enough, has always been at what charts out to be fair market value on the day of the halving. It's never been in the middle of a bull run. It's never been at the bottom. And it's interesting. It's always been what the technical analysis shows to be the fair market price of Bitcoin. So as it's grown, as it's gotten adoptions, it was worth $12 in 2012. It was worth $64,000 in 2024. It will be worth $1 million 10 years from now. And let's see, then the bull run happens in the summer. That's been 9 to 11 years. It's the year after. In my book, which came out in November of 2024, I wrote it in the summer of 2024. I projected that the high was going to be in early November if Trump won, and in late December, early January if Kamala won. Trump won, and it was November 5th, right on Election Day. And I also projected that the bubble was going to pop in the Q4 of the year after the halving, and it's exactly what happened. And so you do have this diminishing returns every single cycle. So if you were lucky enough to have, or fortunate enough or smart enough to have, done your homework back in, 2013, and you bought in at the start of the year of $11, it was actually down from the halving at 12, and you sold even within 20% of the top, you would have turned $11 into $1,000, and then hold on to that cash and then buy it when it went down to its low, which is 177. And if you missed that, you still had like months to get into 250. And so the whole thesis of following the cycles is to hold Bitcoin for 3 years and cash for 1. And you have to make sure it's the right years. And it's pretty simple. And it's been something I'm ridiculed on stage for, and so far I've been right every time, which is it does follow the seasons. And interestingly enough, you can tell Bitcoin's spring because it's on the calendar, right? You can just count to the 210,000th block of that season, of that cycle rather, and it's on the calendar. It's going to be late March, early April of 2028. We know that. You can count it down. That's the halving. And then a year later, roughly, you can see when Bitcoin summer starts by a calculator. Is it a new all-time high by even $1? And that's what gives you that. So let's see. Bitcoin fall is the hardest one to tell, and that's where you make all your money. If you ride it too long, past the top of Bitcoin summer, you ride it all the way down to the fall, and it's often round trips. And so you want to be able to, and it's always the midterm year, political football that it is. And, you know, you sell at the top, you buy back at the bottom. If you can accurately tell, you know, which of these, again, you end up having diminishing losses. It was down 85% after being up 100x. It was down 83% after being up 30x. It was down 75% in the last bull market. And I projected that this time we were going to be around 60 to 70%, and we're already down about 52.5. I do believe we're going lower. But we are in the zone now where this could be 57 a couple weeks ago, could have been it. And I projected that number earlier this year. And then winter is the longest season. Crypto winter, by the way, isn't when things are going down. It's when they've already collapsed. It's actually a great time to buy. Because if you're right at the bottom, there's no sellers left. No one's going to dump on you because there's nobody left with Bitcoin who isn't a long-term holder. And those are the longest ones, about 18 months. And good time to dollar cost average. The best time to buy Bitcoin is like when summer starts, because it goes up very quickly. And then you want to sell when summer ends. And then buy back again at the bottom when you can see that the bear market's over. And we're getting close to that right now. That's why this is very timely. So these are the cycle strategies. Let's go through this quickly because I think I'm over time. Buy the Bitcoin you afford at the end of, from the cash from the end of Bitcoin summer, and buy it at the start of Bitcoin winter. I think that these cycles will repeat for at least another 3 cycles. At some point, they may be radically different, but so far, they've been the same. And your average, if you sold at the top and bought back at the bottom and missed it by 20% in both directions, you would have made 4 times the Bitcoin every single 4 years. You'd have 60 times the Bitcoin. 1,000 Bitcoin investment at the end of 2012 cost you $12,000. And if you just held it and did nothing, today it's worth $65 million. If you went and followed my thesis, it'd be worth about $4 billion. So order of magnitude. I don't think we're going to be 4x for the next couple of cycles. I think we're going to be closer to 2x, but that's still better than buying and holding. And again, that's what the thesis of my fund is as well. There's the book. More information there. And then real quickly, this is for accredited investors only. I do have a fund that sort of follows these principles. I'm the chief investment officer. I've got 3 Series 3 traders and algo developers. Joe Reese out of San Francisco, Angelo Ponte out of New York. It's a Wyoming fund. And it's a $100 million fund, $250K minimum. And we charge 1 in 25 instead of 2 in 20 because we want to earn it. And there's our regulatory compliance, blah, blah. This is our back test before we started the fund, going back 2 years. We're the green one. And then this is our real-time performance as of the first 6 months we've been in business. We started trading on January 1st. We've beaten the price of Bitcoin by almost 12%. Our goal is to beat it by double the amount of Bitcoin over a 4-year period, but we make a lot of money for everybody even if we do half of that. And that's me. That's my phone number. That's my email address. That's my Twitter account, although right now I've been having some issues with my Twitter account, so you can better reach me and reach out to me and ask to connect on LinkedIn. I'm my name on everything. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. So we have finished the first part, which is phenomenal in terms of just the lessons that I've learned. And now we're going to start with the second part. And the second part actually is where we have our startups who are here. But before we learn who our startups are, let's learn a little bit more about who our judges are. So Michael obviously is one of the judges, or maybe not so obvious, but he will be participating as a judge today, and we're very grateful for that. I'm going to walk the mic over so we can actually meet the money in terms of who is going to be looking at our startups. So I will start with Allison. Allison, if you can just do a really short intro as to your background, and I'm going to end it.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Allison Maffett. I'm an attorney with Cogent Law Group. We're based out of Washington, D.C. I currently live in Memphis, and my practice area is mostly in the blockchain fintech space, and glad to be here. Thank you for having us, and here you go.
Yeah, awesome. Give me a second. All right, hello everybody. My name is Teddy Gresser. I am the Senior Director of the Seed Funds for Maryland TEDCO. That's not named after me. That is the Maryland Technology Development Corporation. It's been around for 29 years, doing economic development in the state. I can go into all the different programs and stuff, but effectively we do, okay, some of it is early stage grant programs, tech transfer, federal lab tech transfer. We've got like our venture development team, which is like an entrepreneurial support organization. All of that leads up to the investment team, which is where I sit. We operate like any other venture capital fund, except for the state of Maryland is our only limited partner, if that makes sense. So we're doing direct investments, priced equity rounds and convertible notes, typical venture tools for early stage technology-based Maryland-based companies. And I can go on for a whole long time, but happy to be here today. Thanks.
So if you didn't catch that, Maryland-based. So if you are out of Maryland, you need to come back to Maryland, somehow do an incorporation in Maryland so you can get more money from Maryland. Because we want Maryland businesses.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Gilberto Nazario. I run an advisory company called Web3DC. I take pride in helping entrepreneurs and founders get discovered and hopefully get founded in the right direction. So I'm very happy to be here.
Michael, I think you've already introduced yourself, but did you want to do another intro?
Sure.
About the BitAngels?
Investment side. So I started BitAngels back in 2013. I've also been an LP and a GP in a number of funds. Right now it's Bitcoin hedge fund, but I also do angel investments. I've invested in 50 companies over the last 10 years in the crypto space. Some of the prominent ones that I also do advisory work. Some of the prominent companies I've worked with or invested in, Ethereum at the ICO, Tether. I don't know. Those are a good start.
Joyce, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to say, Jackie, congratulations. You've been working so hard at this to make it all happen, and you with Gil and Matt, and thank you for bringing everybody together. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it is a team. It's not just me. So thank you for mentioning, especially my co-founder, Matt Rogers.
All right, happy to be here with friends and colleagues. This is going to be a really fun session. Definitely happy to have the founder of BitAngels here. And Matt Rogers, former entrepreneur in residence at Texas A&M University, co-founder of some of the work that I do with Jackie, which is the Blockchain Legal Institute, things that you see on the sign over here. We have a nonprofit foundation and a global SRO that's called DARA. And happy to be learning and hearing from the people that will be presenting today.
And my background is I'm a partner at Cogent Law Group. I'm also in the education space, and I'm also an entrepreneur bringing different businesses the learning that they need around the world. So with that, we have a list of companies that will be presenting. Everyone will have 8 minutes. And you can decide once you're on stage if you're doing the whole 8 minutes just as a presentation, or if you want 5 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for question and answer. Allison's going to be your timekeeper. So she will she'll let you know when 5 minutes is there, and that way you know you have, if you want to keep going, you can, or if you want to stop and do the 3 minutes questions, you can as well. Everyone will present, and then afterwards the judges will leave. We'll confer, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to be announcing the order of the winners. Now, everyone who's presenting here is a winner. Because of the fact, even though there's no economic prize today, there's going to be a lot of international exposure. So what that means is that you are going to be live streamed, you are going to be in an international ebook, you're also going to be shared within the BitAngels group, and so there'll be other exposure to other investors and people that will also support your journey. So with that, we are going to